Okay, so in this hybrid class, first of its kind hybrid class, where some students are present here physically, at least 2 students are here from this class, and the rest of the students are online. And this is like first time, a lot many things we are doing in these Corona times. And this also is first experience for everybody, that we deal with both the groups in hybrid mode, some here, some online. Okay. So today's topic in Absalom and Achitophel, we have to discuss is about places, persons, parties. 2 parties are there, positions and events, which are very important, and so far as allegorical references are concerned. So when you write an answer, a special answer on this, that write an answer on places, persons, parties, positions, and their allegorical references, this discussion will be helpful to you. Apart from that, when you write your answer on allegorical, Absalom and Achitophel as allegory, at that time also this will be useful to you. Okay, so let us see what are those places, persons, parties, and positions, and also events, which are very important from allegorical point of view. The first term here we get, a phrase we get is a good old cause. The good old cause. This phrase is used by Dryden in the original poem. What does it mean? What is the reference of this, the good old cause? Is it having any reference to Bible, to Israel, to King the David of Israel, or there was some immediate context? Well, here we will say there is an immediate context. Immediate context is something that was very, very nearly that has happened in the politics of England. That was prime, and that is what we have to see. What is this? The good old cause. Okay? So the reference of the Puritan rebellions of the English Civil War that happened in 1642 to 1651, that is referred as good old cause. So it is not biblical reference, it is political reference, and which just happened few years before this is, we are right now in 1678, 79, 80. Right now we are in 1680s. Poem is published in 1681. Here you are talking about 1640, 50s, that decade when Oliver Cromwell, the Puritan rebellion, which led to civil war, the English Civil War. The English Civil War pitted King Charles I, who was supported by the Catholics, against Parliament, which was supported by the Puritans, a form of Protestantism. The war was a victory for Parliament. Charles I was executed, and the Commonwealth of England was created out of that. Okay? So that is the non-story that we know, and we have referred to that in our study of the history of Puritan and Restoration. In this poem, Absalom and Achitophel, Dryden refers to the uprising of the Jews in Israel to a revival of the good old cause that is brought back to raise commonwealths and ruin kings. So he's referring that the similar kind of things are happening in King David's kingdom. That is how the poem is referring about. As we know, that poem is not at all talking about present day England. It is not at all talking about present day England. Poem is all about bygone ages. That is about Israel. That is about King David and that time only. So now here there is a reverse allegory. Up till now what we were seeing was that biblical allegory was fitted into contemporary time. Here something that is contemporary, which is just 40, 50 years old event, is now connected with Israel. So there is a reverse allegory you find in the good old cause as compared to all other allegories, which was, there was Israel and there was England. There was past and this was the present. Here just a present moment, a bygone present moment is now connected with something about the Israel. So that is the good old cause. Second event or second term, very important, is the exclusion crisis, the exclusion bill. Now you all are aware about it. What is exclusion? We have discussed couple of times that what is exclusion crisis or exclusion bill, the political crisis that began in England in 1679. The exclusion crisis was prompted by the mass anti-Catholic hysteria of the Popish plot and involved 3 bills which sought to exclude Roman Catholics from royal succession. Yeah? Non-story, yeah? We know it, Popish plot, 3 bills that came, and there was anti-Catholic hysteria in England during this time. Charles II's brother was heir presumptive. James, who was supposed to be James II, was a Roman Catholic, and the exclusion bill was a serious threat to his reign. Yeah? The exclusion bill was never passed. Yes, this is to be remembered. It was never passed, and the crisis officially ended in 1681. But Catholics were ultimately banned from the throne in England in 1701. Yes, but Catholics were ultimately banned from the throne in England. This is not good for a democracy. You can't tell that because somebody follows other religion. Now, this is again Christian religion only. So even in the Christian, if you are just follower of another sect, then if you say that now you can never become a ruler or you cannot contest elections, so well, that was how it happened. So the religious strife in England is very deep. Among Christians only, there has been a terrible time so far as religion was concerned. Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel allegorizes the exclusion crisis through the biblical story of David and his son Absalom, who tries to discredit David's brother and eliminate him from royal succession. And what is used there in that context, which you have to keep in mind, is that here it is Protestants and Catholics which are used here, whereas in this case you have to see Jews and Jebusites. Jews and Jebusites. This was the conflict. So that also we will see in this discussion, Jews and Jebusites. So David is considered Jebusite. People are Jews, and David's brother was not supposed to be because he was Jebusite, and people were enraged in the time of David's time in Israel against King David's choice, and that was Jebusite and Jews conflict. Here it is Roman Catholics and Protestant conflict here. Dryden implies that the exclusion crisis was engineered and led by anti-Catholic extremists who attempted to exclude James II from the throne through deceptive and corrupt means, and his poem serves to expose such dishonest practices to the people of England. Yeah, so but this is well known. So even if there is a short note on what is exclusion crisis, I think you will be able to write at length. A short note also on exclusion crisis or exclusion bill. Next, similar kind of important event is the Popish plot, which also can be a good thing for a short note in your exams also. A conspiracy engineered by Titus Oetis between 1678 and 1681 in England, in which he maintained that a Catholic conspiracy to assassinate King Charles II was underway. So what is exactly Popish plot? Popish plot used to say that some Catholics want to kill the king, and as near people as the wife as well as the brother are involved in this plot, the conspiracy to kill the king. It was completely false. It was conspiracy engineered by Titus Oetis. Popish plot was a farce, and no evidence was ever found to support it, but it resulted in the execution of 22 innocent people and led directly to the exclusion crisis. Dryden allegorizes the Popish plot in Absalom and Achitophel as the plot. Whenever he refers to the word the plot, he wants to say about Popish plot. Advanced by Achitophel and created by Korah to discredit David and his brother and place Absalom on the throne. Through this poem, Dryden implies that the Popish plot lacked common sense, and he implores the people of England to see it for what it is, a sham concocted to drum up anti-Catholic sentiment and unfairly keep James II from ascending the throne. So Dryden wants to say through this poem that it is completely false, fake. What has happened to the common sense of the people is addressing in that way satirically to people also. There to the Jews, here to the English people, that what has happened to your common sense. Why don't you understand that this is all wrong? And there is this idea to see that James II do not become a ruler. There is no murder but 22 innocent people were killed. 22 people were killed in this by way of this plot, and there were lots of turmoil in parliament because of that. Okay, so next term, people, a group of people, the Jews as the group of people. The inhabitants of Israel in Absalom and Achitophel, they are known as Jews. Majority of them are Jews in Israel. In Dryden's poem, the Jews are a willful and temperamental bunch who are easily corrupted. So he's satire on these people, Jews, and through Jews to English people. That these people are temperamental. These English people do not have common sense. They are senseless people. That is how he tries to address them. And he says that they can be easily corrupted, means they are of, we have this word, kacha kanna. Loko kacha kanna hoj. Ene koi bhadkave etle tarat bhadki jai. So that is what Dryden says about Jews, references to the English people. They desire liberty beyond that which is already given to them by their generous king. David, and they easy fall for the deception of Achitophel's plot to discredit David's brother and make David's illegitimate son Absalom the new king. Yeah? The Jews are a metaphor for the English people during Dryden's contemporary time, who also sought additional liberties and attempted to exclude Charles II and Charles II's brother James from royal succession in favor of Charles's son, illegitimate son, the first Duke of Monmouth. Yeah? So that is Jews' connection with the English here. Okay? Next term is the Jebusites. The Jebusites referred to as Roman Catholics, who are in a way in minority now here in England. Yeah? As most of the people are Protestants in England, these people become a minority in England. So Jebusites are a minority group of people in Israel. That is the parallel comparison. The native inhabitants of Jerusalem in Israel. In Dryden's poem, the Jebusites begin to lose all their rights. Their taxes are raised, their land is seized, and their religion is discredited. So during that time, Jebusites were in a terrible time. They were not having control over their land, lots of taxes they have to pay. The Jebusites are outnumbered by the Jews in Israel 10-1. So with 10 Jews, 1 is Jebusite. 10-1 ratio is there. So you can say 10%, 90% were Jews and 10% were Jebusites, and they are forced to live under David's rule. There is widespread prejudice against the Jebusites in Absalom and Achitophel, and Achitophel manages to turn the people against David's brother by claiming he is a Jebusite. Yeah? The Jebusites are a metaphor for Roman Catholics during Dryden's own time, who are outnumbered by Protestants 10-1 and suffered similar discrimination in England. Yeah? Religious discrimination was faced by them in this time. Okay? So that is the Jebusites here. Okay? Parties, the Tory, or you can say anti-Birmingham. Anti-Birmingham also is the name given to the people belonging to the Tory party. Tory and Whig, yes, two parties we see here. Tory, the political party formed in England during Dryden's time to oppose the Whigs and the Exclusion Bill. So this was formed in England during this time. New political party. And what was the prime goal? To oppose Whigs and Exclusion Bill. So this party used to work against Exclusion Bill. So they are for king. They are for the rulers. First line. Achha, from there you are able to see that. Okay. 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 Fine. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So from political party. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So these people obviously with king. They are with king in this context. To the reader, that is, there is a preface to this poem. There is a small preface or a foreword to this poem known as to the reader. Dryden himself is writing to the reader, that is the preface or a forward in the poem section. The poet refers to Tories as anti-Birminghams, which means those who are anti-Whig, those who are anti-Whig party. It was a nickname that became popular for those who opposed the exclusion bill. So Tory party, Dryden was with Tory parties. Tory party was with the king. Whig were against the king, and they were with the parliaments. The Whig, the political party founded by Anthony Ashley Cooper, first Earl of Shaftesbury, who is, as we know, the Achitophel here, during the exclusion crisis, which sought to abolish absolute monarchy and institute constitutional monarchism in England. So another party formed by Anthony Ashley Cooper, Earl of Shaftesbury, Achitophel as we know him in this poem, and they were for exclusion bill, and also they wanted to abolish monarchy. So this group of people were in a way pro-democracy, if you want to use that word, pro-parliament power, pro-people power. Now if you see both this, Jews and Jebusites, or Whig and Tories, another thing, Dryden has taken side of king and Tories. But if we do not look from Dryden's point of view, then we find that Achitophel, Anthony Ashley Cooper, this party was doing a really significant work. Their work was more important because they were giving power to people. They were taking power away from the king. But Dryden was in favor of the king, so his poem has that tone, that voice, that it is pro-monarchy. So when we want to do deconstructive reading of this poem, or we want to make a critique of this poem, this point will be very important, that Dryden is taking a deliberate side of king. And so he is trying to falsify even something good among the oppositions. So Whig party had this very good idea of abolishing absolute monarchy. That's obviously good idea. And today, as we know, that monarchy is almost dead. Democratic power, parliamentarian power is something very important in today's societies. Some places like Tyrus, an ancient city located in present-day Lebanon. Tyrus threatened the Jews' trade in Absalom and Achitophel, and the city metaphorically represents Holland in Dryden's time. So some trade war is going on in those old days between Lebanon, some town in Lebanon, today's Lebanon, those years, different names, Tyrus kind of name, and with the Israel. He is just referring to that with Holland, nearby country, Holland, and the problem with England. Sanhedrin, we can say a parallel to parliament, not exactly a kind of a parliament, but we can locate it as the English parliament here. It is a Jewish high council in Israel during biblical times. In Dryden's poem, is anybody saying anything? No, I think they're getting the voice. No? Okay. Yeah, okay. In Dryden's poem, the Sanhedrin represent the English parliament. Many members of the Sanhedrin turn against David in Absalom and Achitophel, just as the Whig party opposed the monarchy in favor of David, many against him, whereas here some in favor of Charles II, many were against Charles II. Abeth Din is a kind of a high court, or a member of a high court, or some kind of person who has a good say in some kind of administrative affairs. That is called Abeth Din, an officer of the high court in Israel. Achitophel is a member of the Abeth Din in Absalom and Achitophel. Achitophel is member there. So he is very influential. It means that he has a tremendous influence on the public affairs, political affairs of the day. So Abeth Din, a kind of a high court or a member of that high power body. Egypt. Egypt is here equated with France. Egypt is a metaphor for France in Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel. Like many members of the Sanhedrin, the Pharaoh of Egypt, the king, Pharaoh means king of Egypt, rulers of Egypt, pretends to be David's friend, But Egypt is really exploiting Israel through dishonest trade practices. Yeah? Yesterday we have seen about pharaohs. Pharaohs stand for those kinds of friends who are not real friends, but they try to be or pretend to be the friend of David, but they work in a different way. So Egypt is here as France. So Louis the 14th, we have seen yesterday. Louis the 14th is the pharaoh, is the king of France. So so far as trade and other things are concerned, France is exploiting England, and it seems to be friendly, but actually it is not a friendly country. Dishonest trade practices between them. So Egypt and Israel, and here France and England, allegorical representations. Israel is England, yeah, biblical kingdom ruled by David in the Absalom and Achitophel, which serves as an allegory for Dryden's contemporary England. So it directly comes to this. Okay? Okay, so these are some of the important aspects that we see here in this context. Just a minute. And any questions if you have right now, if anybody has any question, then we will take a few questions, or any doubt or any other thing that you would like to add in this. Then we will take those things here. Yes, anybody, if you have any questions or any other observations to be made, please let us know. So these are places, persons, group of people in this, and allegorically what they represent, that we can see here. Okay? So yes, anybody, any questions here? Yes, is the point clear, everybody? Here also, yes, Kishan, Khushbu, if you have any questions. Yesterday's also, if you have any doubt or question, that also you can ask. I think Saturday's class or today's class in this, any concern. Okay? And all this thing you have to use in answer when you write about allegory. This as an allegory, or a special short notes are asked, then also you have to use this material to write this thing. The details, the PPT also will be uploaded on the site, and the detailed textual content also will be uploaded on site. We have taken help of couple of resources from litcharts.com and grade7.com, britannica.com. So a couple of all these resources are used to compile the material for all these things there, which will be uploaded on our website also. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Anybody? Yes, that work was given yesterday. Okay, so we will check that work that which was given yesterday. Minor characters that we have discussed, and we ask you to do that. We will ask you to submit that in Google Classroom. We will ask you to submit that work in Google Classroom. So keep that work ready. A good reminder, I forgot to give the task in Google Classroom. So today I think I will give that task. So your spread sheet, you have to link in Google Classroom, and you have to submit your work there. In the last class we discussed that. So if you were absent or you have forgotten, you can see the video recording of the last lecture. And in the last part we have discussed that. I have shared the screen also. So you might have taken screenshots also, but you can again verify that in case you have forgotten that. And you have to submit that work in Google Classroom. Okay. Okay, any other questions here? Anybody then? Okay, so then let me end this is record.